This is a review of the D-Link DSP-W215 Wi-Fi smart plug. Upon opening the box, you'll notice that it's relatively spartan inside. You get a bit of cardboard, the DSP-W215. I notice that they're using free software inside the magic box, and a card with a QR code with a Wi-Fi network printed on it. Fair enough, it's obvious they want me to connect to that network and continue setup using a web browser. So I plug it into the wall. Major props to D-Link for engineering the unit so it does not block any adjacent sockets. Wait a half minute for it to boot up and connect to the Wi-Fi network listed on the card. So it assigns my phone 192.168.0.80. A bit odd, but nothing crazy. Let's try serving to 192.168.0.1. That'd be reasonable. Nobody home. Since I don't like guessing games, I break out my handy IP app and see that the default gateway is 192.168.0.60. A bit odd, but that seems as good a place as any to start. So I crank that in, and I get something. Get a big go away sign. That's not encouraging. If I didn't already know I was connected to the D-Link DSP-W215, I'd have no idea if I was talking to my smart TV, my smart refrigerator, or some Yahoo in the parking lot running a rogue Wi-Fi pineapple. I decided to take a step back. Maybe I'm approaching this from a too technically literate point of view. Let's try scanning the QR code. They're intended to make setup easier, right? Now normally when you put a QR code right next to a blob of text, the QR code is typically the computerized version of the text. So I expected this QR code to simply be a Wi-Fi QR code. Failing that, I expected the QR code to lead me to either the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. In short, I expected the QR code to go somewhere intelligent or useful. How wrong I would be. Instead, that QR code sends me to the marketing page for the smart plug. So let me get this straight. Job number one of helping me set up my new smart plug is to try and sell me another smart plug? That's not going to happen until and unless I get the first one set up properly. Okay, fine. I'll poke around the marketing page. Maybe there's something useful on it, such as, I don't know, a Google Play link? No. Maybe there's some software in the downloads, or heaven forbid, a quick start manual telling me how on earth I'm supposed to set this up. No. Just a marketing PDF crowing about the features of the smart plug. So at this point I was a bit stymied. In a bit of serendipity, I happened to flip over the card and noticed that there was printing on the back. Aha! Turns out I need to download an app from Google Play first before doing anything. Now why doesn't the QR code lead me there if it's a required first step? Also, as an aside, note that this item is completely incapable of being set up unless you have a smartphone. Never mind that you have this big computer over there that is infinitely more capable. Forget about it. Phones only, people. So I go to Google Play and I search for My D-Link. Shouldn't be too hard. My D-Link Lite, My D-Link Plus, My D-Link Cloud, My D-Link Baby Camera, My D-Link NAS, My DCam View Mobile, My D-Link SharePoint, My D-Link NVR. Result number 9, My D-Link Wi-Fi Smart Plug. Upon clicking install, Google Play details the permissions that are needed. Now, I can understand mucking about with the Wi-Fi. It is a Wi-Fi device after all. And I can give D-Link the benefit of the doubt that they're storing their My D-Link credentials using Android rather than rolling their own half-baked solution. That's just good security practice. But there's no reasonable reason why it needs to know my location. Even worse, there's certainly no reason why it needs to access my phone's camera and microphone. After installing this, D-Link can now take a picture and record me, then tag it with GPS coordinates whenever they feel like. That's bad. But for review purposes, I persevere and accept the conditions anyway. I can always uninstall it later. I feel like we're finally getting somewhere, but that feeling is quickly wiped away when I realize I can't find the app I just installed. I open the app drawer and look for My D-Link anything. I find absolutely nothing. So I page through the rest of the app drawer and eventually find it, and it's called Smart Plug. Wait, I thought this was called My D-Link Smart Plug blah, 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 blah. I guess that was my mistake. At this point, I'm starting to wonder if half of D-Link is ignoring the other half of D-Link's design decisions, or if they just didn't get any of the memos. So I launch the app, and my phone disconnects from my Wi-Fi and connects to the Smart Plug's Wi-Fi network. Feeling a bit of deja vu here. It sees the smart plug and asks for the confirmation code printed on the back of the card. If the QR code couldn't have been a Wi-Fi QR code, and it couldn't have been a link to the App Store, why couldn't the QR code be the password you need for setup? That would be a reason why you'd need to use the camera from the smart plug app. The more I think about it, the more annoyed I get, so I grumble some discontent and tap in the numbers. First thing the app does is ask to connect to your existing Wi-Fi, but I'm quite baffled as to how it chose which networks to display. It can't have gotten the list from Android, or it'd show about 10 networks within range. Instead, it showed the network that I was on and some random neighbor's network, but not the network I have in my garage about 30 feet away, nor my closest neighbor's network. The only thing I can guess is that they thought a list with any more than 2 items on it might be too much for the user to handle. Nevertheless, through either sheer luck or the grace of God, the network I want is in the list, so I tap on it and put in my Wi-Fi password. It joins my Wi-Fi network and then immediately goes and updates the firmware on the smart plug. Note that it didn't ask if it could, or if this is a good time or a good network. It just went out and did it all by itself. Probably a really good thing that I wasn't tethering to my smartphone, for example. And since I'm the nosy type, I decided to snoop the connection and find the smart plug making no less than 6 outbound connections. But after a few minutes, we're finally ready to turn on a lamp. Easy enough, hit the power button, hear it click, and the lamp turns on. Hit it again, turns back off. Or hit the arrow next to it to get more information and change advanced options. But the advanced options are a bit schizophrenic. If you go in there with the unit on, there's nothing that lets the user know that the device is on. In fact, there's large off staring you right in the face. But there's plenty of wasted space where one could put some lightning bolts if it was on, or some Z's if it was off, so it was obvious what state the smart plug was in. But there are some very nice things here, such as the instantaneous and cumulative watt meters. While it's not as comprehensive as a kilowatt, no power factor or volt amp measurements, for example, they're still nice to see. You can also configure automatic on-off schedules, as well as having the smart plug turn off if the temperature exceeds a set threshold. Of course, this is the temperature of the smart plug itself, so I'm not exactly sure how that's going to be all that useful. Nevertheless, the option is there. Despite the annoyances of the smartphone app, the actual hardware is solid and the features are good. The Android app needs quite a bit more polish though. For example, not signing up for My D-Link is not a valid choice. Every last time you make a change to the smart plug, it nags you to sign up. This reminder sorely needs a "don't ever bother me again" button. After refusing the first 10 times, it's unlikely that I'll ever acquiesce to D-Link spying on how often I decide to turn on my desk lamp. But rough edges aside, it's a decently good product if you can live with its flaws.